Okay, Sarah.
Thanks, Soren. So welcome back, everyone, in this virtual space. Did just want to note as well for members, we do have the option for members of the public to view this as a live stream. And so just welcome also to those folks who are meeting with us virtually in that way. For that reason, if you would make sure that your cameras are on when possible and then mute, but also make sure that you come off mute to contribute to our discussions tonight. It's appreciated. So we'll just kick things off with a quick connection. First, just take a moment before we connect together. If you are new to our standing committee, I think we have a couple of members who have joined. I'm not sure if they were able to be with us tonight, but if you this is your first meeting with the Vibrant Learning Experiences Standing Committee, just take a moment here to let you introduce yourself. If you'll tell us your name, your community, and kind of who you are coming into this space as. So you may be an educator, parent, business owner, or multiple roles in this space. So please come off mute and just introduce yourself if you're with us this evening.
Hi, I'm Danette Baker, and I am from Lyon County High School, and I'm the business education teacher there at Lyon County.
Great. So glad to have you with us, Danette. It's nice
Thank
to meet
you.
you.
Nice to meet you.
Any other new members with us?
I'm Ria Eisenberg. I am a new member tonight, and I'm a librarian at Oakland Elementary in Warren County, grades K through 6.
Thank you so much. And is it Rhea?
Ria.
Ria. Thank you, Ria.
No problem.
All right. Well, so glad to have you all with us. Like I said, I think we have a few new members as well that could not be with us, but we will be glad to introduce them as these meetings continue in the future.
Sarah, you have another one.
Oh, who else?
Alfonso.
Hi.
Alfonso, hello. Familiar face. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Hi, my name is Alfonso. I'm a Spanish teacher in Bloom Elementary in Jefferson County Public Schools. I am originally from Madrid, from Spain. So I hope to bring to the group not just perspective that I have gained as a teacher, both in Western Kentucky and also in an urban setting, but also international perspective. And also with the experience that I have been very fortunate to accrue both at the teaching level, but also at the state level when I was working at KD. So thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you, Alfonso. All right, so now as we just reconnect with each other, in thinking about a quick connection activity in this virtual space, I am always so curious to get to know folks outside of just their professional lives. So thought we would kick things off here just in a moment of thinking about who you are and what brings you joy. So what is something that you do to escape the busyness of life, your day-to-day roles, the many hats that you wear? If you have a moment to yourself, what might we find you doing? So take a moment, think about those hobbies, those passions, those things that bring you joy, and just drop those in the chat and just get to know each other a little bit more as we kick things off this evening. Already seeing a little of that evidence of vibrant learning, picking up some bread making. I need to learn myself. Penny, are we sharing? Are we sharing? Oh, live music, Rob, yes.
Anytime, Sarah, anytime.
So it looks like Rob is going to get with Alfonso to listen to some live music. Rachel, working out. Put in double for me, please.
Carmen Coleman, I cannot wait to see how your dog turns into a little agility champion.
I mean, we're working on it every day. We work on it. 2 steps forward, about 15 back some days, but we're determined.
Love it.
Carmen, you're saying we are determined. Did you ask the dog?
The dog is, you know what? Maybe that is the problem. She is not she's just not invested like I am. I've shown her the videos, like, this is you. This can be you. It's
No.
so the wine would be good. I'm with you.
Well, thank you all for
Um,
sharing those. Keep them coming if you have more passions and hobbies that you'd like to share. I love the connections of, for many of us, it involved learning a new skill, much like Carmen's dog. She's probably learning more than the dog. So appreciate you entertaining that little connection activity and dropping those pieces of yourself into the chat. So I am going to pass it back over to Karen to move deeper into our agenda today.
Thanks, Sarah. We have a lot of things to share with you tonight. We're excited about some learning opportunities that have presented themselves since we were last together. And so we'd love to actually just have a little bit of a conversation about this next agenda item. One of the things that you all mentioned, both when we were in person in November, and then also in our last meeting and in a follow-up survey, that you'd like to do some site visits to learn more about Vibrant Learning and get some direct experience with Vibrant Learning. So we set up a few site visit opportunities for this group, and then other standing committees were so excited about this idea that they actually would like to join us potentially for these site visit opportunities. But let me just walk through what it is, and I can just give you a little bit of detail, and then we can talk more about it as we move forward. Let me see if I can share screen here. Let's see. There's really nothing like seeing it. I mean, we've been working on school change for a long time, and people always say, I just want to see it in action. Just let me see it. So in response to that request, set up a few potential site visits for us. We are trying to get to all corners of the state, but I think we may have a few opportunities left to put together for getting to all corners of the state. But here's what we have thus far. On Thursday, March the 9th, STEAM Academy has agreed to host a site visit for us the morning of March the 9th. STEAM Academy is a school that is located here in, I'm located in Fayette County, Lexington. And STEAM Academy is a public school that is a special program. Basically, any high school student in the district can apply to STEAM and attend there. They have busing from your home to your home high school, and then from your home high school to STEAM. So every kid has access via transportation. And they have a focus on project-based learning. Sorry, and they have a focus on project-based learning. They've got a lot of dual enrollment going on. Most juniors and seniors, I should say not every, but almost every junior and senior in the school has an opportunity to do an internship during their time at the school. So there's vibrant learning opportunities happening sort of all throughout the school. So the principal, Chris Flores, is happy to host us if we'd like to go. Here's what we're asking. This sign-up sheet is in our shared folder. So if you think you might be available and willing to go to STEAM on that day, March 9th from 9:30 to 12, go ahead and put your name and your email, and then of course Vibrant Learning Committee there, and then we'll send out additional details closer to time. But that's one available site visit for us. The second site visit that we have available is Eminence Independent Schools. Eminence is a small town, rural place in Kentucky. Their superintendent, Buddy Berry, has done lots of work there over the last, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 years to try to build our language is vibrant. He would say his school on fire is a term that he uses, but he's been working hard toward personalized learning for many years in the district. He has thought of all aspects of the school learning experience, and from what it looks like to the learning design that goes into it, to the way the school smells. I mean, just he's really thinking about all parts of what it feels like to be a student in the school. Eminence Independent is also happy to host us on Thursday, March 28th from 9 to 11:30. We'll probably get a look into the elementary and the middle levels there. I know STEAM is focused at high school, so we'll probably get a look into the elementary and middle, at least at Eminence. So that's another opportunity. So the third one that's kind of cooking, and I don't have any dates for us yet. Marshall County Schools is inviting us to participate in their student learning defenses. They have students presenting evidence along the lines of the Marshall profile of a learner that they have. And so they're going to have learning defense presentations happening over the course of a week. So I'm getting those dates and times pulled together from them, but that's going to be another opportunity. So it's not a formal site visit to the school, but it's a learning defense presentation, and we could either observe or participate on panel as panelists for their learning defenses. So those are three opportunities, and I think closer to time, we'll talk more about, I'll send out additional communication about the details of those, but wanted you to know, just so you could get these on your calendar now, if these things are of interest to you. I should point out that Marshall County is in the western part of the state. And so from Lexington, where I am, it's probably a 3-hour drive. So we want to make sure we're kind of trying to get to all the corners of the state, as I mentioned. Let's see, what questions can I take from you all on the site visits, or are there specific requests you like to send? Yes, thank you for pointing out that time change, Alfonso, for sure. Travel time plus a time change to Western. Any questions on the site visits?
So Karen, I have a question, and maybe this is something that was discussed in the last meeting, so my apologies if I'm asking for something that I was not able to hear. But did you all discuss or use any specific rationale as to why those three schools, like any specific focus? Because for the STEAM, I can definitely see the whole STEAM program, but for there to, have you all used one specific rationale for that?
I think in our first meeting that we really talked about, we talked about the kind of the criteria for what we thought vibrant learning looks like. And so STEAM Academy, I think, meets lots of the criteria that we discussed in that first meeting back in November. And I think has a wide range of opportunities both inside the school and outside of the school. I guess the other thing I'd say about both STEAM and Eminence is they host a lot of people. A lot of people go see those schools. So they have a tour system, and they're pretty practiced at showing people around. They're very open with letting people in classrooms. They're very open with people talking to students directly. They also are willing to pull together teachers, a teacher panel, and district administration or school administration in the case of STEAM. So I think when we think about what our guiding questions are for the committee, I think that we've got a good chance of getting some additional information from those schools that are from the student perspective, the teacher perspective, and the administrative perspective from those two. And then the Marshall, when I was reaching out to them about a site visit, they just mentioned the presentations, and I thought that might be an interesting kind of twist on a site visit for us. So these are three that we know well at NextGen. I think they're very familiar in the KDE ILN space, and I think they're pretty well known on the innovation scene.
Okay,
Karen, I
thank
could
you.
just kind of speak to Eminence and to the defenses. So Eminence is one of our districts where I work, and there's always so much you can learn from them. Speaking about like joy and just fun and how schools should feel, like you're going to learn that walking through the doors at Eminence. And then the student defenses, I think there's so much we can learn from that too, and just kind of hear it directly from kids. It's so powerful. So if you're able to make either of those, I would say they're going to be awesome and give you another perspective on what this could or should look like.
Yeah. Thank you, Rachel. Yeah, I think I agree with you on those. And then I guess the other thing I'd say is all three of those have been at this for a number of years. I guess one thing that they all have in common is that they've been at the innovation work for a number of years. We don't have anything listed here that's one of the newer, more nascent efforts at innovating. But if we want to see something that's newer, certainly we can work to get some dates on the calendar for some newer examples. Julie, as Sarah said in the chat, we still working on confirming those. Actually, those defenses happen over the course of a week, so they're getting that date, the series of dates for me, and I'll update you all as soon as I know what they are.
Karen, can I just add a note as well? And I think you mentioned this a little bit. These are just a few larger scale site visits that we can orchestrate together in this group. But certainly if you're looking for more of that independent study opportunity, we'll continue to update you all as we show you another resource later of some opportunities you might personally want to take advantage of. But through UK's connections, as well as mine with the Innovative Learning Network, and certainly we have members here like Rob, who is our statewide deeper learning director. You have, tons of resources available to you and connections that we can support to get you into additional schools, classrooms, and districts should you wish.
Sarah, does that mean that in the future, other than these three that you are proposing, can we add or suggest more ideas for more places that we can visit? Okay.
Yeah, I would love to know about them for sure. Actually, one of the dreams that we have, and one of the things we talked about in our very first meeting, was that we'd love to put together a whole map of Kentucky of all of the amazing places where vibrant learning is happening, and it would just be great to have the whole map like lit up with all of the places, and really kind of almost a profile of what's great that's happening there. What are the conditions, what have we learned from it, and just to highlight and celebrate. I think that's one of our charges. So I think not only yes to the answer of your question, but I think we really need to think about a way for us to strategically identify what those places are, for not only our sake, but for the sake of more people celebrating and holding up the vibrant learning that's happening.
So I will follow up with that, saying that all the resources that I may have for world languages and dual language immersion in the state, I am happy to share those with you, because in regard to those experiences that you are looking for, and what you have just described that you are looking for as well, I can definitely share that with you. So I would be happy to talk to you at the end of the meeting about this. Great,
I love it. Thank you so much. Okay, so we'll send out more information closer to time on those site visits, but the leaders of those schools or the district are working on building the elements of the site visit for us, and so we'll get those to the people who sign up as interested a little bit closer to time. We'll also send you a reminder closer to time if you all of a sudden get time on your schedule that you could devote to it. We'll send out some follow-up information on those, but we're excited to be able to do those with you. It's always great to get into a school and talk to kids and teachers and leaders and the folks who are engaged in it. Just appreciate their efforts. It's a great opportunity for us to speak to them directly and kind of witness it ourselves. Okay, so going to hand it back over to Sarah for the next item on our agenda.
Sorry, Karen, I'm trying to navigate 2 different screens over here. All right, so as you might recall from our previous meeting, we sent out a survey following that call with 2 big items. One was our chair election, and the second was that methods of learning, which Karen's just offered you up a first response on our end of a way that we could start to reach our big audacious goal together. So I do want to pause here just for a moment and address that first piece of that form that you filled out. We are so very excited to welcome Justin Dunning on as not a new member to our team here, but certainly new to our chair position. So Justin, just celebrating you and all the folks here on the call who were able to vote in that very first Vibrant Learning Experiences chair election. So just congratulating you. And Justin, I don't know if you want to say anything to our folks here about a little bit more about who you are and why you might be excited to serve in this role that they might not have already read in your submission.
Absolutely. So for those that don't know me, I'm Justin Dunning. I'm a junior at Lyon County High School, way over in Western Kentucky. And I'm very excited to work with y'all. Vibrant Learning's it's a passion for sure. And I have siblings. I have a sibling in middle school and a sibling in 3rd grade elementary school. So one of my big things that I always said was I'd like to see my sisters learning, if she can have more vibrant learning. She's in elementary school, by the way. By the time she gets to high school, then it can completely change the way that you graduate. You could have a whole new set of skills, and it's very inspirational to see. And I'm very excited to work with all of y'all for that, because all of you bring such specialties and wisdom to the table. So I'm very excited.
We are so excited for Justin's leadership on this committee. He has already been able to meet with our full council planning team, and he'll continue to do that and serve not only in helping us design these sessions moving forward and leading those, but to be that liaison between our standing committee as well as the other 2 standing committees as well that live within the Cole Council. So just thank you, Justin, for offering up yourself and your areas of expertise and service. We can't wait to continue this work with you. So transitioning, and Justin's going to come in here with me as well on this next piece. One of the most highly rated responses of how you would like to learn from the field about vibrant learning experiences were those empathy interviews. So you definitely had a strong interest in the site visits and seeing learning in action, but also speaking to the people, whether it be parents, grandparents, business owners and communities, teachers, principals, and so on. So we wanted to offer up a chance this evening to first model for you a tool that could help us have those very productive storytelling conversations with folks out in our communities. So with empathy interviews, they are a really powerful tool that we can use together to go out and have those conversations. So Justin and I are going to take just a quick moment to model for you. And then you can also find in that same folder that I dropped in the chat earlier, Karen has provided you with an empathy interview tool and document that will have some sample questions. Now, I will preface this by saying that the empathy interview that we'll model this evening were actually based on questions that have been used in our local labs of learning communities, our L3 communities, which many of you have heard from in our first round of exhibitions. So their charge is very specific to assessment and accountability. So some of these questions may not feel right for the types of conversations we want to have, and we'll open that up later for you all to kind of bring to us and talk about here in this space some questions that we may go out and ask to others. So, so Justin, thanks for joining me in this little modeling here. As we talk about empathy interviews, of course, we want to create any kind of intimate conversation about a person's experience in a way that feels safe, and so that the person you are speaking with can feel free to have that space to open up and share their very real and valid experiences in the education system. Some of that may be positive and some may not, right? But we want to make sure that whoever we are speaking with feels like they have the confidentiality and ability to speak freely and openly to give us the most information that we can gather. And so in the document that you'll have access to conduct empathy interviews, there's just some quick information about how you can gather information about a person, but then turn it into some anonymous data that we can collect to make sure that we are capturing a wide range of experiences from folks across the state. And it gives you also some information about who to interview. So we'll take a quick moment here together as well this evening to talk about people who are coming to mind for you, about who you might want to speak to, and then kind of capturing that as a group to see where we may have gaps. Who are we not reaching in these conversations that have a very valuable experience to share with us? So, Justin, would you like to be the interviewer or interviewee?
The interviewee.
Okay. So Justin, I am a member of the Kentucky United We Learn Council's Vibrant Learning Experiences Standing Committee. So we are working together. There's a small group of folks who are really working to amplify and really showcase what incredible, joyful, vibrant learning is out there for students across Kentucky. And we're hoping that when we kind of shine a light on this, that we can spread it and that we can make sure that more of this is happening in Kentucky's schools. So I'm here representing that group today. Thank you for speaking with me and sharing your experiences. Will you just take a second and introduce yourself and who you are?
I'm Justin Dunning, and I'm a junior at Lyon County High School.
And how do you identify in your community? What's your family like? Do you have siblings in school as well?
Yes, I have a family of 5. I have a sibling, my brother's in 8th grade and a sister in 3rd grade, all here in Lyon County. I'm very active in clubs, Future Business Leaders of America, Beta Club, Student Council, all of those clubs that my school offers.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. Well, I'm just going to take some notes as we talk, if that's okay. It really helps if I can just kind of jot down some specific things that you're saying. It really gives us some valuable information that I can share back with our group. But of course, everything you share today will be totally anonymous. I won't actually put your name on anything. I'll change it just to make a fictitious person on this account. So I guess I'll get started by just asking, could you tell me about the last time that you got information from your school about how you were doing?
Well, it was actually Friday. We go to our advisors at the end of the day, and they hand out our progress reports, and they have us fill out a grade kind of reflection form where we jot our grades down and we write like which class we're doing the best in and why we think we're doing the best in that class, and then which class we're struggling in and why do we think we're struggling. And then our advisors actually go over that and can talk to students individually and help them, put together a better plan of how they want to learn.
So would you say that that is helpful for you as a student and it's helping you improve?
Oh, yes. And, yeah, it's pretty good for me. And I know my friends, they enjoy it, even though sometimes it seems a little tedious, but we all know, like in the end, if we're struggling with something, that's a good way to like let them know that, hey, this class is kind of, it's taking me down a little bit. I have some help?
Great, thanks for sharing. How about a time that your school or your district learned something about you or your family?
Well, obviously we have, like orientation at the beginning of the year, and we're very small, so our administration tries to connect with a lot of the students for sure, and like get an idea of how, family lives are going. And of course, we always offer spring and fall parent teacher conferences where the building's just completely open for parents to come in and meet the staff, and the staff's always there and very open to talk to us.
Thanks so much, Justin. This is all very helpful. Like I said, thank you for helping our Vibrant Learning Experiences Committee. I can't wait to take this information back and just share your experience and see how we can create more vibrant learning for students across Kentucky. All right, so in scene, thank you, Justin.
No problem.
As you all can tell, as I mentioned, this set of questions is kind of something that we've been using with districts. And these may not be the right questions to pull up specific conversations and information about vibrant learning. So take just a moment. And I think, a potential question here could be something like, tell me about a time that tell me about a time you had a vibrant learning experience, and why did it feel that way for you? Right. So take a minute, whether we come off mute, drop something in the chat. Let's just have an open conversation here just for a moment about what are the questions that we should be asking, keeping in mind it may not be a student. It could be a number of folks out in our communities.
The first thing that comes to mind for me during all of this is I think that we need to ask whoever we are interviewing, what do they think vibrant learning is, just to make sure that we're on the same page.
Yeah, I love that suggestion. As one of the things that we said we wanted to do was get a clear definition around vibrant learning. And then I think I really appreciate Justin's fine point that he put on that vibrant learning. We need to know what's important to students about vibrant learning. So with a special eye for what matters in particular to students, I think is a good thing. So I love that, pretty on the nose question of what do you think vibrant learning is? And then, tell me about a time you had a vibrant learning experience.
And definitely, since we're going into like middle schools and elementary schools, I mean, they might not always understand vibrant learning. So it could be like, what's been your favorite assignment in class? What's been your favorite project? Just, something that kind of relates more to them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I also think, depending on the student's background, whether that be socioeconomic status, religion, or other, students may not know what they like or enjoy because they have not had an opportunity for those experiences. So there's also an open window, or so to speak, to let students know that they have talents that are untapped, or maybe, like I said, if they have never had the opportunity to paint or have a tool in their hand, or use those fine motor skills, gross motor skills even, they may not be able to verbalize what that is. So I think asking students is important, but giving them an opportunity to see or to play, so to speak, would be important. I don't know what that would look like. I'm sure it would be different in different places.
I wonder if that's in my head, that's starting to form a question around like, when was the last time you were able to, gosh, I don't know, bring a passion or something you enjoy into your classroom experience?
When was the last time you had a personalized learning experience?
I think when we do empathy interviews, students are going to be a wild card where that's concerned. I don't know that the students need to be the focus. Questions, yes, but empathy interviews specifically, because these questions are designed to glean more than just superficial things, right? So if we were to ask a classroom of fourth graders, what set of questions could we ask to really get what we're thinking about getting?
Penny, my question is, as I'm listening, is what is the purpose of our empathy interviews? I think that's really what drives the question. Do we as a team want to know where they are, who's having vibrant learning experiences? Do we want to know what is the understanding of vibrant learning experiences across the state? Or do we want to know if they understand what a vibrant learning experience is? So I think depending on what our team wants to learn will drive what the questions that we're going to ask. Because I could see that, first of all, we have to either define or come to common understanding with the interviewee what we're talking about. And then using language instead of vibrant, we might say, what's something that you've learned that brought you joy, and how did that happen? And so it might be inside the school or outside of school, but I think all of that, the questions could go in a million ways. But I think our team needs to decide, what are we trying to find out? What are we trying to glean from all of this when we bring it back together?
Right.
I think you hit the nail on the head. Sorry. I was just going to say, when she said joy, to me, that hit the nail on the head, because that's the exact thing. That's the exact way I would phrase it to a student. When is the last time you were able to learn and it brought you joy, and that experience brought you joy? I think that is what vibrant means to me. So sorry to interrupt, Miss Penny.
Well, I think, we're the Vibrant Learning Experience Committee. We don't have to use that terminology at all, right? When we talk to them, we have that for our purposes. But yeah, we adjust the verbiage, and maybe empathy interviews aren't necessarily, by definition, the empathy interviews, if you look at the format based on what Sarah and Justin did, maybe not empathy interviews per se, where the kids are concerned necessarily. I'm just thinking, I've done empathy interviews and they can be in depth. You're really going into a big place with that. So I don't know. I'm just pondering how the questions are going to be formulated. I promise you, I have not had wine. I don't know.
Might these interviews be different depending upon the different audiences? Of course, we're going to try to glean information from students, and maybe we might from their parents, because of different perspectives of a parent having had the whole education experience, some positive, some negative from their own learning. If we're talking to community members, it may be that we have to have different interviews depending upon the person. I'm just thinking back to reading or back to writing, we have to have the audience and purpose. I would think these interviews would kind of be the same way. Of course, some of them are going to overlap.
Yeah.
But I think we would have some questions geared towards your specific audience.
Yeah.
Alfonso,
this is
Alfonso, jump in here.
Yeah, I'll go after you, Alfonso. This is Rashawn.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen his hand held up.
I'm an elementary teacher. What can I say?
You gotta jump in, man.
All right. So I have been hearing this conversation, and it's funny because this reminds me very much of something that we discussed a year ago with these empathy interviews with Donnie. Somehow I feel like it's coming back again. I feel like the empathy interview document that has been shared with us, I believe that we are working under the assumption that a specific empathy interview is going to be conducted to an English speaker person. And I'm saying this because just one fact alone, a couple of days ago, it was shared here in Jefferson County that our number of multilingual learners in this school district has risen up to 16,000, which is basically like almost 20% of our student body, just in Jefferson County alone. So start thinking about the entire state of Kentucky, and you think, for example, of the group of migrant workers that go usually to Western Kentucky and Warren County, and the amount of Spanish speakers that are in those areas, right? But in addition to that, you also have all the migrant families that are coming because of international companies all across the state, like Japan, Germany, France. With all that, I want to add to the conversation that, and piggybacking with some things that I have heard about how there could be some specific crafted questions for specific audiences. In addition to that, I think that we also have to be prepared for, one, hitting an audience that, because the language is a barrier, may not be willing or may not be able to answer our questions. One, so what to do? Translator, interpreter, which is one of the things that Shelby County did precisely in their local lab that they showed actually in our last convening in November. Two, I think that we need to be ready as well to accept the fact that even when we provide those themes, the answers that we're going to get are not there, precisely because when you function in another language, the amount of experience and the amount of things that you can bring to the table, they are always going to be filtered by that layer of language, and it's never going to come across the same. So are we ready to accept that, one? And two, are we ready to accept the fact that as much as their experiences are very valuable and very important together, it may not be the things that we want to hear, or it may not be the things that we want to see, right? That we also have to gather that feedback. And last but not least, and this is something that I would like to hear Justin about this, the experiences of our students who are coming from those migrant families. How are we going to be able to collect them? Because yes, they are students, and I have heard what we have discussed right now about the students, but their experiences and their feedback and their perspectives, if anything, it speaks to the spirit of what we are trying to do here with the empathy interviews, and that is specifically described in the document, which is to collect the diversity. We need to consider that in the state of Kentucky, there is at least 250,000 people who speak different languages other than English. So what are we going to do about that? And how are we going to collect that?
Mm-hmm. You also have, with migrant families, you're also going to have that barrier of them wanting to communicate with you, talk to you at all, period.
Oh, and you just reminded me, Penny,
mm-hmm.
Not just people who speak other languages, other world languages. We also have to consider our Kentucky community of people who are deaf, people who are blind. How are we going to bring them into this conversation? How are we going to have these empathy interviews? How are we going to collect and gather their experiences so that we can move our work ahead?
I think that's a great point. I mean, personally, I'm learning from you right now because, like I said, I go to like a pretty small school, so I don't have that much diversity. And I've been, working on a lot of things with KDE through this council and on the Commissioner's Advisor Council, and meeting these types of, new people with new experiences, new cultures, and trying to learn from them and get a more open idea of what's going on. And I think you brought a really great point that if we're going to say that the learnings matter to all students, we have to mean, all students. And so thank you for sharing.
Right, Sean, I think you were going to jump in. I don't want to lose you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to kind of comment on two things. One, I think the person that mentioned joy, it's really along the same lines. I think we need to start off simple. Keep it simple, stupid. I think sometimes even like since I've just been involved in this process, some stuff is presented on a level that if we take it outside of the meetings and stuff, people won't be able to connect with us. You start off with simple. What helps you enjoy school? I've got 2 kids in school. I've got a son in middle school. He loves that they have stand-up desks now. They've taken 5 field trips this year in the program that he's in. Just little things like that, finding out what helps you enjoy school. And I think that's a question that you can ask to any race, any age, any ethnicity, culture, any language, blind, deaf, just keeping it simple and meeting them where they are. I know it was said it doesn't necessarily need to be the children, but I think it's important to really get their understanding. I'm sure all of us can attest to we were never asked what we wanted in school. And that's why some of us have some, poor assessment of how our education played out. So I think starting off with, just basic questions, and then that'll help us be able to cater to the different ethnicities, culture, languages, and things of that nature.
I love that. And I put over in the chat, and I'm just thinking about this with this discussion. I love all this hard-earned and thoughtful wisdom about empathy interviewing. We've done a number of runs at empathy interviewing, really starting with this the KCAE process last summer. And lots of folks on here were involved in that effort and learned lots of things along the way. What's important about empathy interviewing, keep in mind, we're doing this for our own learning, right? This is all part of our own learning and our own clarification on our learning agenda questions. What's important about empathy interviewing is finding someone who's not like you, specifically seeking someone who's not like you and trying to understand their experience with the system. And so maybe that's a student, maybe it's a parent, maybe it's an educator, maybe it's a community member who feels disconnected from the experience, but finding someone who's not like you and just seeking to understand. And the way to do that is to establish rapport, be clear about what you're trying to do and your purpose, and be honest and transparent, and establish a relationship to the maximum extent possible that you can with that person. And then just ask them questions using, your own judgment. I love the advice of just keeping it simple. To try to understand what their experience in the system has been. And I think if we do that, if we really listen with empathy and try to understand their experience, don't try to convince them of anything. I think that's one of the things I learned the hard way about empathy interviews. You're not trying to convince anybody of anything. You're just listening to understand. I think that we can use our judgment and seek out folks to fill in maybe our potential blind spots as well. One of the things I remember from the KCAE experience was Dr. Glass really challenging us all to sort of check our own biases as we started the process. Remember that? I see some heads nodding, right? And I can do it too, to show up with a particular thought and a point of view and say, I think I'd like to insert this here, but this is about just listening to other people. And so I think if we sort of stay true to those sort of few ideas, I think that the empathy interviews will be helpful to us. We've done this at NextGen for years. When schools come through the NextGen Leadership Academy, we have them interview 100 students, and I think Carmen was maybe the one who was the start of that tradition, and it is the most powerful experience probably of the entire Leadership Academy for lots of teams. It's just really just listening to someone else's experience is just really powerful and moving, and can really inform your perspective. So just to be clear, empathy interviews are not a requirement. We'd love for everyone to go out and do them, but they're not, sort of required activity. I'm thinking of empathy interviews. If you can't make a site visit or don't want to do a site visit or the learning presentations, this is a way to get out and talk to people one-on-one to inform your own perspective a little bit. And totally optional. You all expressed an interest in doing it, so we wanted to give you some of the things that we've learned throughout the KCAE process to do it.
Karen, what I'll say is that before we did that, I also thought, they're going to say things like, we want to, like dumb things, like they're going to say things that we know that things like, well, we just want more of those rolls that they have in the cafeteria on Fridays. Literally, I've gotten some answers like that. But you have to keep, there's some good points in the chat about, you have to talk to them about, so what has been a learning experience inside or outside of school that really stands out to you? And when you really listen and you start to think about what they're saying, you can get a lot from it. Like I always capture quotes from those, and they're really interesting and really much more impactful on adults too when you share than I might have thought in the beginning. They really are good.
Yeah, and when you get in there, and especially if you're talking to a kid, but really anybody, they're going to give you a little something, and then you just sort of ask the next question and dig a little deeper. If they answer, the most joyful experience I've had is about the school cafeteria food, that's great, and we celebrate that. And then ask another question, go a little deeper, dig a little more to see what you can get.
Honestly. So I was gonna say, even like with that, because she said like a dumb question, and it's like, well, what's the root cause of that? And so I think it's important to continue to ask why. So like, as I mentioned before when we were in person, I don't have an educational background. I'm a youth pastor. When I became a youth pastor, my first meeting, I have a group of from age 0 to 30. I'm 36 years old. The first thing I told them, I have no idea what it's like to be 15 anymore, 20 anymore, single anymore. I've got 3 kids. I need you all to tell me what you like. I need to understand what you're experiencing. When I grew up, we had dial-up internet. I didn't have Wi-Fi at my fingertips. So I need to know what you're experiencing. And I think if we take that same approach from an educational standpoint, we'll be successful. Not from a teacher standpoint, not from a parent, but really just sit there and get down and nitty gritty with our students so that they can be successful. And like for the ones that aren't enjoying school, why aren't they? It may stem to something at home. It may not even be the school, but it may be the school. Maybe they're not engaged with appropriately. Maybe they're talked down to for some reason or things like that. Or maybe, the teacher has a monotone voice, it could be anything, but I think it's really going to be important to find out from the students.
Yeah, that's really the spirit of it, right? And students, teachers, administrators, parents, community members, that's really the spirit of it, is just go find someone and listen to them and how they experience the system. I appreciate Sarah's note there in the chat. I feel like we want to try to end as close to on time as we possibly can. I want to share this last thing with you before we break for the night. The other thing that you all said you were interested in was doing some independent learning. I think back to our November meeting, some folks said they just wanted to read some things, read some articles, listen to some TED Talks, just go do some independent research. So we began to curate a number of resources for you in what we call the playlist. And so there's a playlist for Vibrant Learning that is started, and this is just the start of the document. There's a playlist that we started to pull together, and I'm pulled it up here. It's in our folder as well. It's got some TED Talks, some podcasts, some white papers and articles, some upcoming webinars from some national organizations you all said you were interested in, some in-person events that you could go to sort of learn more on the ground from folks, and then some other resources that we've curated here. If you have some in your travels and you'd like to add to this, this is an open document, so please add in, especially if you read something that's really moving to you. But we just wanted to curate these things for you to do your own independent research. If you'll notice, the theme of what we're trying to do here is this is our period of time, and we said we're just on a learning journey here together as a committee. So there are lots of opportunities to learn: site visits, empathy interviews, this playlist of resources for us here. We're just out there trying to learn more about vibrant learning from every perspective that we can. And we have another meeting between now and our next in-person convening to accomplish that. So we'd love to challenge you to do that. Last thing is, we'd love for you to gather your thoughts as you go through. There's a document in our folder called Learning Reflections, and there's been a document that's been created for every person. I'll open mine here. We wanted to give a place for you to just capture your thoughts. This is not required, of course, but if you want a place to just kind of gather your thoughts and for us to pull our thoughts together, when we come back together in April, we're going to be bringing all this learning that we have back to the table to see how far we've advanced in our BHAG here, which is to develop an internal shared understanding of what vibrant learning means, so we can articulate our own vision and strategic plan. So here's a place to capture some notes if you'd like to, or if you want to keep notes some other way, you're welcome to do that. But we wanted to provide an opportunity to do that, along your own learning journey. I think I'm turning it over next to Justin for adjournment. And then Justin, if you want to mention these next few items here, and then we can break formally and we can stay for any questions if anyone has.
Yes. So our next Vibrant Learning Experience meeting is going to be virtually on March 6th, March 6th this year, at 5:30 Eastern, 4:30 Central Time. And then don't forget, we have our in-person convening April 25th and 26th in Shelby County. And you should have gotten an email from Susan, I think, with maybe a survey attached to it. And with that being said, as long as nobody has anything else, I think we can adjourn for the night.
Okay, thanks so much, everyone. Have a great one. Happy Monday.